in your business, you should be ready to do what? To actually be very diligent, to actually put in 110%. The people that get now, obviously, I know when it comes to work, there are a few arguments around how people get promoted and everything, and we all go through this whole at the end of the year where your manager takes you to, okay, let's see what were your goals, what have you achieved, how far away from your goals are. But you find out that if you've put in 110%, if you put in 120%, it's very difficult for your manager to say that, oh, you haven't actually met expectations. So as a Christian, you should be looking to what? To exceed what expectations. How do you exceed expectations? First of all, obviously, apart from understanding the goals that your manager has set for you, you should be what? Diligent. So you put in what? 120%. Now, the second scripture is 2 Chronicles 2:7. I love that scripture a lot, which is, takes us back to the fact that even when Solomon wanted to build the temple, Solomon asked them that he should bring the people that are skilled in their field. He didn't want anyhow people, he didn't want mediocre people. He wanted people that were what? That were skilled. Now that takes us back to Joshua 1:8, when the Bible talks about the fact that if we know his word, that will be what? It would be above what? Above excellent. So God expects us to be what? Above excellent. So even when Solomon was trying to build the temple, he wasn't looking for anyhow people, he wasn't looking for mediocre people, he wasn't looking for people that are lazy, he wasn't looking for people that like to, some of us like to just get by in life. So everything that we do in life is basically to get by. When they're looking for people to call, you know how to just maneuver your way so that they don't call you. They're very lazy. We like to hide. But even in the Bible, for everything, if you look at everything that God did and when he worked with people, as much as they had their shortcomings, as much as they had their flaws, there was something that they had, which is the fact that they had the ability to be able to put in what their best. So remember that even in the Bible, when someone wanted to build the temple, he wanted people that were skilled, which is for you to get promoted at work, for you to get a job, God expects us to do what? To study right, to have the right skill set. Now, a lot of us complain. I know there are racism and all of that we all talk about. But the truth about it is the bottom line is, do you have the right qualification? Do you have the right experience? Are you doing the right things as well to get you to that place where you can actually get promoted? The other scripture is Luke 14:28-31. Now, this is for those of you that are either looking to start your business or are already in a business. Now, the Bible talks about the fact that when you want to build, like, have you sat down to actually count the cost? Now, I work with a lot of businesses, and I'm going to say this with no offense intended. When I work with non-Black people, they plan when it comes to their business. They sit down, they write a plan, they do the research. A lot of Black people, we don't. So a lot of us as Black people don't even understand what it takes to run a business. We have an idea and we want to run with it, but we haven't sat down to count the cost, to plan. So planning is about counting the cost. And it's actually in the Bible, when the Bible is talking about you want to build a house, but you haven't sat down to count the cost. You haven't sat down to plan. What happens when you get halfway? What happens? You either stop building or things happen and you find out that you actually can't go on. But all that goes back down to what? Planning, right? So there's a process. Everything in life, there's a process. When God was building the world, he started with a process. It took him 7 days. But if you look at the way God built the world in 7 days, everything he did before was so that what was coming after was in the right place. So there is a process. And it's the same thing that has to apply to everything that you do in life. The Bible says that we are created in his own image. And because we are created in God's image, if God followed a process in order to put the world in place so that there is order, when we do things in our life as well, we have to do it the way God did it, which is what? Put a process in place so that when we get to the end of it, we can look back and say that everything that we have created, everything that we have done is actually what? Is actually good. So the last scripture is 3 John 1:2, which the Bible says that I wish above all things that you prosper even as your soul prospers. When we don't do things right, when we're very lazy, when we don't put the right processes in place, after a while, a lot of things begin to happen, problems come, we get overwhelmed. it begins to affect our mental health. Now, for a lot of us, we take failure different ways, but no matter what, when you fail at something, it affects your mental health, right? So this is one of the scriptures that I like when I talk about when I'm dwelling on my mental well-being, is the fact that God wishes above all things that I prosper, even as my soul prospers. So what are the things that I have to do for my soul to prosper? Do you understand? What are the things that you have to do for you to be successful in your career? What are the things that you have to do for you to be successful in your business, so that at the end of the day, your mental well-being, your emotional well-being is not affected? Because whether we like it or not, failure has a funny way of affecting how we see ourselves. It ends up affecting our emotional well-being. It ends up affecting our mental well-being. But that's not what God's plan for us is. God's plan for us is the fact that we should prosper. But then we have to do the right things in order for us to actually get that prosperity. That's why the Bible said that we study to show ourselves a workman approved. Study to show. So in your career, you have to what? Study to show. In your business, you have to do what? Study to show. So those are some of the few scriptures that I would leave you with, that you can kind of meditate upon. The scriptures that you can study on your own concerning your career, that you can begin to pray concerning your career, concerning your business. So now let's get into the whole, I'll start with career, basically. A lot of us, I think we have everyone has a career, regardless of whether you want to start your business or you already have a business. I think everyone here has a job. So with your career, one thing I've learned to do, and I'll just throw things that have kind of worked for me. I'm an accountant by profession, though at the moment I do a lot of strategy. I've kind of moved into strategy and I do a lot of project planning and stuff. But I didn't study accounting and finance as a first degree. I studied engineering as a first degree. I did electronics and computer systems engineering as a first degree, basically. And then I found out that for me, I did engineering because maths I have a passion for maths. I love numbers. And I just felt everyone was like, oh, because you love numbers, go and do engineering. But I found out that I didn't want to work in the lab. Two, the whole technical aspect of building wasn't something that I naturally had an affinity for. It wasn't something that I was going to enjoy. So I struggled with my lab work, basically, let's put it that way. But I found that there were all the support courses that I did, like engineering mathematics, or courses like engineering management, business and engineering, that I was fantastic at, that I kind of excelled at. And I spoke to my counselor at the time, which was like, look, maybe you should go into business management. And I was like, okay. So obviously, and I had to start thinking about, okay, what do I do? How do I get from engineering into business management? And she said, look, the advice she gave me at the time, even though I didn't take the advice, was the fact that, look, a lot of these big four accounting firms, the likes of PwC, KPMG, would take anybody with any degree. And if you want to get involved, I knew I didn't want to be an auditor. And for me, when I looked at the big four, all I saw, the big fours, by the way, have changed now, because they're finding out that a lot of companies, well, the face of accounting has changed, which we all know that the face of every profession is changing. So if you're in the medical field as well, technology has become a big thing. COVID-19 has actually taught us that telemedicine is here to stay. So which is the fact that if you're a doctor, you can basically speak to your patients online. If you're a pharmacist, you could write prescriptions online. We're coming that technology, with technology, you can actually do kind of like a lot of things. So for me, I didn't want to be an auditor. And when I graduated, a lot of those big four firms were very, very audit focused. Now they've changed, they've gotten into business consultancy, they've gotten into a lot of things. And I knew, okay, fine, auditing was not for me. So I decided I'm not doing ACCA. I did, for those of you that are familiar with accounting, with the finance field, I did CIMA. With CIMA, it's all about business management, it's about business process improvement, it was all of that. And I knew that that was what I wanted to do. So I went ahead and then I did my CIMA exams. Now, if you are in a particular career at the moment, or you study something in uni and you think that, oh, that is not for me and I want to kind of change, one of the things I'll be saying to you is look at the skill set that you need, not the academic qualifications that you need, but the skill set that you need. So there are two different things. Your academic qualifications are one thing, but your skill set is actually a lot more important. So what I had to look for is the fact that as an engineer, what are the things that I've picked up? I had fantastic analytical skills. I had fantastic mathematical skills. To be successful in the finance world, what do you need? You need very good mathematical skills. You need very good analytical skills. And then for me that wanted to go into business management, I needed very good storytelling skills. You'll be surprised. Now, there's some skill sets that you have that you don't think that are important, that are actually very, very what? Very, very important. So for me, those three skill sets were what were going to set me apart. So I started my senior exams. By the way, I had to start from scratch because obviously I won't get any exemptions because I did engineering as a first degree. Now, to the glory of God, the people that got exemptions that I started my exams with, a lot of them, I finished my exams before them. They failed a lot of exams along the way. I didn't fail any. Why? I was coming from an engineering background. I'd already been tried and tested by fire. I went to King's College, University of London, which meant that if you don't read, your failure was very long. So I spent a lot of time in my library. So all of that was what helped me. So when I was doing my professional exams, I kind of blazed through a lot of them. That was one. Two, I looked at it and I was like, okay, Dolapo, you need to do something that will make you stand out. You're competing with people that did accounting and finance at the first degree. I didn't get into the big four. So I started working with maybe small companies. But what I did was I started and I said, okay, where do I see myself in 3 years? So at the end of the 3 years, when you finish your exams, for you to get your charter status, there is all the kind of like work experience that you need to have. I was fortunate to have a mentor at the time. I call him my Irish daddy, who started and okay, let's look at the experience that you have. Let's look at the experience that you need to have. And it kind of helped me. But what I did is I took a risk with my career. And this is one thing that you have to decide for yourself. Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you understand? And then decide on how to get to that point. So I did a lot of short-term contracts, and I also moved around a lot. But the reason I did that was at the end of my 4 years, I wanted to be a finance manager. And everybody, a lot of the agencies that I spoke to at the time were like, you're joking because you didn't do accounting and finance as a first degree. But for me, and that is where, as a Christian, where you also have an edge. I remember one day, when I moved to Dublin, the first agency that I went to speak to was like, you can never make it in the finance world because you didn't do accounting and finance as a first degree. He was telling me based on what he knows. And I walked out of that day and I was almost in tears. I was like, Darako, you have even made. And I remember then Ericsson, when I moved to Dublin, had offered me, there was a job on the table, and I was like, should I just go back and take the job as a software engineer and stop deceiving myself and everything? But I knew that that was not what I wanted to do. So after having cried and everything, my husband was like, Darako, you better don't listen to him, this and that and everything. And I went back to God. And then I kind of picked myself up. So, and then I was like, okay, I have to keep at it. And then the scripture that became my best friend was that a righteous man might fall down 7 times, but he will then rise up again. It applies to every area of your life. Do you understand? So I picked myself up and I started applying. To the glory of God, by the time I became a people manager in the finance world very, very quickly because I moved around a lot. That was one. Two, I was not lazy. That is, I was ready to learn. I was a very hard worker. Because of my analytical skills, things that even my senior managers could not see, I could see it. Do you understand? So it was my transferable skills that actually helped me progress very quickly in my career. So when they say, this thing is not possible, let's pack it. I'll go back and I'll come back and I'll be like, no, this is possible. And they'll ask me why. And I'll say, because of this. And they'll be like, how can you see that? But I was coming from an engineering background, so I had fantastic analytical skills. Do you understand? So for me, I'm competing against people that came from an accounting and finance degree. Fine. But I have a skill set that a lot of you don't have. And that is what I am going to use to my advantage. So as I'm talking to you, there's some things that come naturally to you that I think that you guys should begin to write down. And I look at, okay, what is the next level that I want to get to in my career? What are those things that they would be looking for? So when you look at a job spec, a lot of times, especially job specs now are actually changing. They go like, oh, must have a degree, must have a master's. Then they list a whole sort of skill set that you should have. Most of those skill sets are actually soft skills. Do you understand? So what are those soft skills that you need to get to the next level in your career? Now more than ever, your communication skills are becoming a lot more important than anything else. Especially we don't know what's going to happen post-COVID. If a lot of companies are going to keep a lot of their workers working from home, your communication skills become really, really really important. Your writing skills, The ability to write an effective email. So what effective communication becomes very, very important. My current job, a lot of times I'm having meetings with people that are sitting in 30 different countries. They don't see you. I'm sending emails to people that are sitting in 30 different countries. They don't see me. Being able to effectively communicate what I want from people that speak different languages and from people that are speaking in over 30 different countries is very, very important. Project management skills, they're becoming very, very key. Post-COVID, if you have like project management skills and you think you're up for the challenge, that is something that I'll be asking people, like that is something that people can begin to basically look into. So, but the things that I did that worked for me was the fact that a lot of times when I sit in front of my managers for them to do my performance evaluation at the end of the year, it's always the fact that, Alako, you exceeded expectations. Do you understand? And the truth about it, it is not about working long hours, it is about working smart. Now, one of the things that I found that God has and that is where you need to understand yourselves. What are your strengths? Is the fact that if you are, so there's some people, they see things maybe 30 times faster than other people. So if you're that kind of person as well, it's a skill set. So all the things that we take for granted, do you understand? For those of you that work in church, that was another thing that helped me to hone like my skill set, my soft skills. When you work in church and they give you different responsibilities in church, what are those things that has helped you to kind of like carry out all those responsibilities that you've been given in church, that you've been successful? What are all those skills? All those skills are actually going to help you at work. So then don't shy away from investing in yourself. One of the things that I encourage people to do is invest in yourself. I've invested in myself a lot. I spend money investing in myself a lot. People go to me and say, like, when are you ever going to stop studying? The truth about it is sometimes when I look at the difference between where I am now and where I want to get to, I said, okay, fine. Like when I wanted to get into finance, so when I started out as an accountant, I worked in manufacturing, I worked in architectural, I worked in the hotel industry. Then I worked for Accenture, which was more management consulting. When I was with Accenture, I was working with Microsoft, which was technology. But I really wanted to go into financial services. There was just something that was drawing me into financial services. And for every agency that I spoke to, they're like, if once you don't start out in financial services don't employ people outside of financial services, which I can understand because business knowledge is very, very key. So when you see accountants, one of the things that sets you apart is your business knowledge, because it is not about number crunching. The funny thing about number crunching is that there's technology, all the things that we like, maybe when I started that I used to do manually, technology is doing it. When I was working for Irish Life, what we call accounts payable, which is paying your vendors, is done by robots now. So, but when I started, they used to advertise jobs for accounts payable coordinator. Now those jobs are non-existent. Why? Because technology can actually do it from beginning to the end. In Irish Life, they created a bot that can read the invoices and code it to the right place. So that is one job now that is no longer existent. Do you understand? So, so I decided, okay, what am I going to do in order to get into financial services? And for some funny reason, financial services was calling me. So I decided to go and do a master's in DCU, investment treasury and banking. That means I would learn about financial services, everything about financial services in 2 years, but that cost me money. Do you understand? But I had to pay to get the knowledge, because that was where I wanted to go to. So sometimes when you map out what do I want to do next, it might require an investment. That means it requires a sacrifice. The truth about it is there is no success without a sacrifice. Do you understand? We're all Christians, and we all like to say that Jesus died for us on the cross. Jesus died on the cross. Somebody made that sacrifice. Do you understand? God sacrificed his son. So what is that saying to us? That there is nothing in this world that you will get without doing what? Without making a sacrifice. When it comes to career progression, some of the sacrifices I make will be investment, either your time or your money or your hard work. Do you understand? And sometimes it requires the three. So I went to do what? I went to do a master's. That was 2 years of my life. Do you understand? In the middle of my 2 years as well, I got pregnant with my first child as well, and I had to keep plowing through. By the time I was coming off my maternity, I got a job with Bank of Ireland, and I went into Bank of Ireland as a financial controller. In short, when there was an agency that was trying to get me a job because I didn't want to go back to Accenture, after my maternity. And when I told him that I got a job at Bank of Ireland, he was like, how? Why? You don't have financial service experience. And he's like, what are you going in on? I was like, as a financial controller. I was like, it's a lie. It's not possible. But it was possible. One, I had paid the price. Two, you have a God. Do you understand? But I always tell people that I don't believe that God will put you in a position that you're not ready for, so that you do not go and disgrace him. So that people do not turn around and say, all this Christian self. So if you're looking for that next level, you have to be prepared for it, whether you like it or not. When we look at David in the Bible, even though David became king, David had been preparing himself to become king years before David became king. Do you understand? David had done a lot of exploits in the Bible before David was anointed king. So there was a moment, there was that time of preparation. And it's the same thing with your what? With your career. You have to be prepared for that next level. It is not automatic. Do you understand? And I always say to people that the position that you're praying for, that God should put you there, and you're not working towards it, there's somebody else that is praying for it, that is also working towards it. I think it would be unfair for God to actually give it to you that you're not working towards it, when there is somebody else that is equally his child, that is praying for it and is also what? Working for it. And that's why the Bible said that faith without works is what? Is dead. So I got into Bank of Ireland. And after that, I carved out my career. So I knew eventually I wanted to do strategy, and so that I wanted to do. Years later, I invested, I paid for an MBA, to be honest. And I always say to people that when I paid for my MBA, I had to look at where I saw myself being and choose a school. Because another thing about, which is another thing I'm going to throw out there as well, is things like an MBA is, I didn't need the content, because the content I knew from doing my CIMA, the content I knew by having different roles that I've had. I was already a senior manager and stuff like that and everything, but I wanted to go into entrepreneurship. And the kind of entrepreneurship that I wanted to go into was different. So I knew that I needed a network, and the kind of network that I needed determined the kind of school that I wanted to go to. So I chose a school that was outside of Ireland, and I had to make the sacrifice of paying for it. Why? Because of the network that I needed to get to my next level and where I wanted to get to. So, and then, after that, and since then, obviously, I've had to now juggle between building up my career, building up my businesses, and then the home front and everything. So what am I saying? So to be successful in career, you have to put the time in, you have to put your money in, that is invest in yourself. You have to begin to build the right experience. Some of the experiences I built were by taking on projects in church. So some of you might want to take on projects in church, and they're actually good examples. So if you've interviewed recent, and I think Innocent is in the house, Innocent that is that works in HR and everything. Now, when you go for interviews, a lot of those questions are competency-based questions. So give me an example when, give me an example when, give me an example when. To be honest, a lot of employers don't care where the example is coming from, as long as you can actually show that you had that skill set to actually do that particular thing. So I've walked into interview rooms and I've viewed examples of running projects in church to actually get a job. Do you understand? And it has worked for me, because at the moment, I'm a director in Ireland. So it has worked. Do you understand? So do not underestimate a lot of things that you do, even if it is not at work, because sometimes to get to your next level, all those things come into play. And the Bible says that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to. So everything that you're doing, it is not a mistake. God does not put you in a place as a mistake. You don't find yourself in doing different things just because you want to waste your time. Do you understand? What are the lessons, all the things that you're doing? How is that going to stand for you? What are the skill sets that you're pulling from there that can actually help you like build a successful career? But the truth about it is, a successful career does not happen by chance. It does not happen by screaming Jesus, 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 Jesus. I'm a Christian. Do you understand? And if anybody comes to me and says they're screaming Jesus, Jesus, I'll tell them that you can't find somewhere to sit down. Because if you're not doing the work, then seriously, stop deceiving yourself and stop deceiving all of us that are actually around you. So the right education, there are a lot of training courses out there. In short, in this COVID, the amount of free courses, even Harvard put out almost so many free courses that people can make. Nobody cares if the course was free or was paid for, as long as the certificate that goes on your CV. Do you understand? So there's a lot out there that you can actually take advantage of. So what are the courses you need to do? What are the seminars you need to attend? The face of education is changing. Nobody cares if your education went through what we call the traditional route anymore. There's no such thing as a traditional route anymore anyway. So what are the skill sets that you need to get to that next level? But the first thing is you need to sit down and you need to write a plan. Then you write down what you need to get to that next level. Then you begin to write down what do you need to do to get to that next level. Then number 4, find yourself a mentor. Now you could either find yourself a mentor in your field or find yourself a mentor, somebody that has succeeded that you think can actually help you. Do you understand? So find yourself a mentor, somebody that can guide you. And when you're finding yourself a mentor, this is something I am going to say. Please do not waste your mentor's time. Do not, when your mentor tells you, gives you an assignment or tells you to go and do something, please do it. Don't waste your time, because it's a waste of somebody else's time. When the person spends an hour with you and then the person tells you, oh, go and do this. And then the next time, first of all, the person chasing you up to say, oh, have you done this? And then you also don't do it. It's actually a waste of your own time and a waste of the person's time. So listen, find yourself a mentor and then read wide. The internet has made so many things possible. There's so many people that are successful in different things. Their books are out there. The autobiographies are out there. There's so many videos on YouTube. There's so many things. Make use of the internet. I know people talk about social media and how bad social media is. For me, I actually think social media, I think the internet is a fantastic tool. It just depends on how you actually use it. So I don't know if anyone has any questions for me on building your career before we go into building your business.
So guys, if you have any question at this point, just unmute yourself and ask your question and we can continue. Otherwise, we'll leave the questions until the end when she's finished, if no one has a question.
Okay.
All right.
So building a business, that is, okay. So building a business, when you want to build a business, I suppose the first thing is, what kind of business do you want to build? Now, there's a difference between, so this is what I say to people when people come to me and say they have an idea, right? There are a couple of questions you need to ask yourself when you have an idea. Are you building a not-for-profit? Are you building a profitable business? Because the processes are different. So not-for-profit or profit. Now, with not-for-profit as well, there are some businesses under not-for-profit that are totally charitable, and there's some businesses that we call social entrepreneurship. So with social entrepreneurship, there's always there's a profit aspect of social entrepreneurship. But what you're doing as well is there is maybe a problem within the society and you're trying to solve that problem within the society while at the same time you're making money with it. So I'll use a few examples, and a lot of us are from Africa, so I'll use examples with Africa, because one of the places that I find out where social entrepreneurship can actually make a big difference is from Africa, where we come from. So, for example, the healthcare sector. We all know that in Africa or in Nigeria, let's use Nigeria as an example. I'm proudly Nigerian, by the way. So in Nigeria, where we come from, the healthcare sector is a mess. Let's put it that way. So the average man at the bottom of the pyramid doesn't have access to good medical care. Do you understand? But we also know that to build a hospital, to run a successful hospital, is very capital intensive. So unless the government is building a hospital, and even if they build a hospital, the doctors need to be paid and all that kind of stuff, you cannot run a hospital as a charity organization. Do you understand? But you could do it as social entrepreneurship. So you find a problem. You say, okay, I want to solve maybe the issue of let's say prenatal deaths or child deaths and everything in Nigeria. So what you find is you find a way where you can actually offer it to them cheaper. Do you understand? So your costs are cheaper, so that way you can still make money, but at the same time is affordable for people within that community, and then you're also solving the problem. Do you understand? So that's the way social entrepreneurship works, which is you're solving a need. So a good example would be Food Cloud. How many of you have heard of Food Cloud in Ireland? So what Food Cloud does is they collect food that ordinarily supermarkets would throw away. So there are regulations around food and how supermarkets have to dispose of foods at the end of the day. So what Food Cloud does is, because there's a lot of homeless people as well that need food, they collect that food from the supermarkets and they redistribute that food to charity or to the homeless. So they're actually meeting a need, but it's a social entrepreneur because they've also had to find a way to actually to make money from it. So that's social entrepreneurship. And Ireland, every year, there's a social entrepreneurship innovation fund. They give out up to €250,000 every year to different businesses that can prove that they're solving a need within the community, but they can also make money. In short, some of the needs that people have gone on to, some people are saying they're solving the need of financial literacy among adults. Do you understand? Like there's so many. So do you want to be a social entrepreneur? So that's what a social entrepreneur does. And then there's those of you that want to run a profitable, everything is for profits. Okay, it's some of us fall into that category. But the truth about it is the processes to actually, from getting an idea to launching to sustaining the business, they're all the same. So the first thing is, what is a business idea? Have you written down your business idea? The second thing is, like I always say to people, is there a market for that idea? Now, some of us, we get so passionate about an idea, but there's nobody that is going to pay for it. So is there a market for it? So there's some people, when they come to me, they have an idea. It's a good idea. Do you understand? But the truth about it is nobody's going to pay for it. So I said to them, I said, the way to work around that is find something that people will pay for and use part of your profit to do that other idea, because that idea is not going to make money for you. So see that as you're giving back to the society. Do you understand? So you now have to, like, okay, is there a market? One thing I would say that before you start implementing any idea, find out if there's a market for it. Now, in finding out if there's a market for it, and this is one thing I'm going to say, is the fact that in Ireland, there are 16,000 or 32,000 Nigerians or something, or 30,000 Africans. Now, we all know in every household, there are more children than adults. So let's even take out 50% of that 32,000 already. In my own household, we're a family of 5. I have 3 children. Do you understand? Now, the tendency that a husband and wife will be buying something twice is more likely that they will buy it once. So you've cut out another maybe 50%. Do you understand? So let's say 32 divided by 50, that's 6. Divided by 50 is 8,000. Now, please, don't come to me and tell me that the volume of people that is going to buy from me is 8,000. Because 8,000 people, that's assuming there's no competition in the market. And that's assuming there's no substitution. So there's a difference between competition and between substitution. So I want to sell Coke. Coke will quickly tell you that water is competing for their market share. Do you understand? And water is what? Is free. Coke recently started buying up companies that do healthy drinks. Do you understand? Because people are becoming a lot more health conscious. And all those drinks are competing with them. So when you're looking at your market, you have to look at the competition, you have to look at the substitution. Do you understand? That very quickly cuts down the amount of people that are going to buy from you. And that quickly gives you an idea if your idea is going to be profitable or not profitable. That's number 1. 2, I'm going to talk to us because we're all Africans. Please and please. When you already see that there are like 20 people in one business and they're serving the African community, I don't understand why you now decide that's the business that you want to do. Because you cannot tell me, because every business has what we call a unique selling point, what sets you apart. You cannot convince me that there is something that will set you apart from those 20 people that are already serving all the people in that community. Do you understand? Now you have to compete on price. And you know, we Black people, we like price. Do you understand? You have to compete on price. So why are you going to put your head there? Do you understand? So we're young. We're all very young here. There's a lot of gaps in the market. My healthcare professionals, where are you? Home care for the elderly, there's a huge gap. Do you understand? What are you people doing? There's a lot of other businesses. Think outside of the box. Do you understand? Why are we even serving God if you cannot go to God and ask God for ideas? All of you pay tithes. The blessing that is attached to tithe is not even money. The blessing that is attached to tithe is witty inventions. So when you're paying your tithes, what kind of prayers are you paying? Or are you just paying your tithes? How do you people read your Bible? How do you interpret your Bible? God's currency is ideas, because anyway, since me I've been born, I have not seen euro and dollar or whatever, or pounds or naira drop from heaven. Do you understand? What God gives people is ideas. And I can guarantee you that God is not giving people, everybody, ideas for the food business. And even if God is giving you ideas for the food business, there's a lot of gaps within the food business that a lot of you are not even tapping into. But now it seems like everybody that can hold a spoon wants to compete with everybody that is not. Yeah. So, market share. How many people are there that are actually going to buy from you? Number two, I don't support people building a business for the African community in Ireland because we're a minority. So you're never ever going to get, unless you want it to remain a side hustle. And even a side hustle that you're going to put a lot of your energy into that is not even going to succeed anyway. Do you understand? So if you cannot sit down and come to me and say, this is my idea, but my idea cuts across my what? My community, then you have not started yet. The world has become a global village, which is whatever idea that you're working on has the tendency to export itself. Do you understand? Enterprise, you guys live in Ireland, and I always say to people that want to go into entrepreneurship in Ireland, okay, you live in a country that supports entrepreneurship if you can prove to them that your idea is exportable. Do you understand? And there's different kind of export. I do a lot of like business consulting and stuff like that and everything, business strategy work as a consultant, as an entrepreneur. A lot of my clients don't even sit in Ireland, to be honest. A lot of my clients I have clients that sit in the UK, I have clients that sit in the US, I have a lot of clients that sit in Nigeria. Do you understand? But I have a website and they can book my website. When I so there's what local enterprise called the trading online voucher. When I applied for my trading online voucher, all I had to prove to them was the fact that I have clients outside of Ireland. That means my service is what is exportable. And when I went for the training, they were talking about a guy who came to them looking for the same grant, and he was an accountant, and he didn't see how his services could be exported. But now the guy has small businesses that are using him in Scotland, in Wales. Why? Because he has what? A website. So the world has become a global village. Do you understand? If you're a doctor and you have an online presence, do you understand? You never know where your clients are, where your patients are going to be sitting down and they're going to be calling you from. Do you understand? There's a lot of things. If you're within the health sector, mental health has become a very big thing. Do you understand? There are a lot of young people that are even scared to come out and talk about the things that they're struggling with. If you have an online, if you obviously have to have the right qualifications, you have to write everything. Become a counselor, online counselor. Do you understand? People will feel so. There's a lot of business ideas, and because you're no longer bounded by location, what are you guys really doing? Do you understand? This is the time for you guys to begin to build. But then you need to build the right things. So we've talked about writing down your idea. We've talked about really sitting down to evaluate how many people will really buy that product from you, how many people really buy that service from you. Is it exportable? Does it pass my own community, which is what people should be looking at. What are the gaps in the community? Do you understand? I will throw a few ideas out there. COVID and online becoming a very big thing, logistics is going to become a big issue. For some of us, we should be looking to build business in logistics. Both if there are apps that you want to build, even physical logistics, transporting from one place to another. Do you understand? When you talk to a lot of small businesses that actually have to deliver goods, one of the big issues is the fact that, maybe the likes of DHL are too expensive for them, the likes of DPD are too expensive for them. There's so much there. Do you understand? A lot of you, when you go to work, I always say to people that if you have a flair to be an entrepreneur, when you show up to work, don't just show up to work. There are a lot of problems that go on in your organization that you can see, and there are problems that you can easily solve. Now, this is where you being diligent in what you do becomes very, very important, because sometimes it's funny that if you're very diligent in what you do, if they can trust you, your first client will actually be your organization that you actually work in. And it will be a very easy deal to sell because they already trust you, because you already have integrity. Do you understand? So you're already building a network. So don't just show up to work. And that's another thing. Even if you hate where you work, I always tell the people that a change in attitude, a change in the way you think, opens up a lot of opportunities and opens up a lot of opens up a lot of opportunities and opens up a lot of ideas. Because even if you don't like where you are, always see it as a stepping stone to where you're going to. So if you show up to work with a different attitude, you show up to work being all cheerful, you find out that your mind will open and you begin to see things differently. And in seeing things differently, there's a lot of ideas that will basically come up. So I was talking to somebody recently, and he was telling me that he used to work for in the UK. He used to work for Goldman Sachs, and what he used to do with Goldman Sachs is that they used to close a lot of deals for businesses, and they used to close deals for, I think they closed the deal for Unilever, which is one of the big FMCG goods in London. And so when he got talking to the guys that came in to close the deal for Unilever, they're talking about how they had issues with logistics. Do you understand? How sometimes when they want to transport their goods from maybe London to Aberdeen, they can't find someone or people that they use. And you know what the guy did? The guy saw it as an opportunity. Today, the guy has a logistic business with over 6 or 7 vans, and he makes over £1 million a year. He's a very young guy. He's less than 30. But a lot of us, we show up to work with our minds are closed, we are angry, we are upset, we don't like where we work. So then we can't see. We can't see. So we've talked about, so what I think, so we've talked about your volume, exportable, talked about ideas. Then having all of that, now cost becomes a very big thing. Do you understand? So you've written down your idea, you've analyzed if there's really people that are going to pay for your service, how many people are going to pay for your service, is it within Ireland only, is it outside of Ireland? You have all of that. Then you begin to talk about how much is it going to cost me to actually start this business. Do you understand? Now, one thing I'm going to say when it comes to costing, I've had a lot of people that have called me, and this is how much it's going to take me to start my business. Do you know anybody that is willing to invest? No, I know nobody's going to invest. Because for anybody to invest in your business, you cannot show up to me and say that my business is going to cost me 10,000 euros to start, and I do not even have half of the money. And you want somebody to come and give you the hard-earned cash to do what? So that you can what? You can squander the money. No, it doesn't work that way. So if you want to start a business, you start by what? Saving your money. Do you understand? So, I mean, there's a whole other class around financial planning and savings and all of that that probably needs to be done. But you start by saving your money. Do you understand? So how much does it, so you now begin to cost it. So this is how much it's going to take me to actually start the business. Do you understand? And then where am I going to get that money from? People always advise that your friends and family are always the first people to get that money from. But me, if I fall in the category of your friends and family and you don't have any savings, sorry, don't come to me because I won't give you. I will tell you to get out. Do you understand? Because that means you're not responsible. Because you have to be financially responsible before your friends and family itself can give you money. There's some of you, they've borrowed you 50 euro. To tomorrow, you have not come back to say the person that, the 50 euro that you borrowed me, take it back. You will not even talk about the 50 euro. Church folks will like that thing. When people borrow you something, you just believe that they've given it to you. You now want to raise money for a business. Forget it. Nobody's going to give them because they already know that you lack integrity. Do you understand? For some of you, people know that, as a single person, you earn 2,500 euro at the end of the month, but you're always broke and you're always borrowing money. They already know that you're not a good investment for them to then give you their money to start a business because you're not financially responsible. So if you want to go into entrepreneurship, let me even say, if you want to grow a business, you have to be financially responsible. Because one thing about business is, even after you've done your plan and you've written down all your costs, you've done everything, there are always those things that you do not plan for that are going to are going to show up. That is going to require your time and going to require your money to sort it out. Do you understand? So you need to learn how to be financially responsible. Now, there are different ways to raise money when you start a business. For those of you that are going to the service industry, so let me stick to, let's say you want to start a care business for the elderly and stuff like that and everything. One of the easiest ways for people like you to raise money is the fact that you can always get your clients to either pay ahead or to pay a deposit. Do you understand? So tailors were the ones that used to do that thing when we all used to do made to measure in Nigeria. When you go to your tailor will charge you a deposit or will charge you. So that money is what the tailor will use that will cover all their costs. Do you understand? And then the money that they probably leave with you is their own profit. So I always say to people that do those kind of businesses that charge your client a deposit, but make sure that your deposit, which is where doing your costs as well, knowing how much it would cost you to provide a product or provide a service is very, very important. You would charge them that as a deposit. So that already covers your cost. Do you understand? And then whatever is left with them is what is your profit. There's a lady in Nigeria called the Flying Doctor, Ola Orekorin. She runs air ambulance in Nigeria. And she was saying that when she started, and she was talking about the fact that because she was a doctor, she had no financial background. So when she went to the banks and the banks are asking her questions, she was just giving them medical terms. They're like, well, you're not even bankable, you can't invest because you don't understand finance, you don't understand business. But somebody gave her an advice, which is the fact that go to your clients, because your clients need the service. Do you understand? Draw up a contract, let them commit to a contract, let them pay ahead. Do you understand? And that was the money that she initially used to lease her initial jets that she used for the business. So there's always ways around even raising money for your business, but it takes you understanding the business that you actually want to go in. So we've talked about writing the idea, because I have a few minutes left. Talking about writing the idea, what is the volume of your market share? We talked about planning. So there are different things that you have to have. Your marketing plan is very, very important. I was discussing with my husband yesterday, and I said that marketing is actually the lifeline of any business. Because even when you know that 1,000 people are going to buy my product, how do you now reach those 1,000 people? Do you understand? How do you get those 1,000 people to trust you enough to give you their money to buy it? Because if I don't trust you, if I don't trust your product, I am not going to buy a product. Do you understand? My husband is always with that. As long as you are Black or within this community, he likes to support you. Me, no. I need to know what I'm paying my money for. Do you understand? That's why me, I'm different. So some of us, which will now be the majority of the people that will be buying, that you'll be convincing to buy from you, we want to know that they can trust your product or they can trust your service. Do you understand? That is where your marketing plan. But in your marketing plan, it has to have integrity. Do you understand? It has to, when you devise a marketing plan, let your product do what you say your product is doing. As a small business, people would not forgive you. I always say that. If you're a new business and you're out there, the moment your product or your service does not deliver on what you said it is going to deliver, they're not going to forgive you. Toyota can make a mistake. One time Toyota made a mistake. They record all the Toyotas. People are still buying Toyota. Do you understand? Why? Because they've built what we call brand equity. But you, as a new business owner, people are not going to forgive you. The moment they buy from you or they use your service and it is bad first time around, trust me, that person is not coming back. So integrity of product. I'd rather tell you that, I'd rather you tell me that, oh, I created a Hoover, it can only work for 15 minutes before you charge it. Now come and tell me that I created a Hoover, it's going to work for 24 hours before you charge it. And I get there and it only works for 15 minutes. Do you understand? But if you tell me that it can only work for 15 minutes, but we are working on, do you understand? There's a plan in place in the next phase for you to work for 2 hours. So when I'm buying it, I go like, okay, I know it can only work for 15 minutes. You already set my expectation, basically. Do you understand? So in your marketing plan, you have to have a marketing plan. Social media has made marketing very, very, a lot easier. Do you understand? This is where, for those of us that sleep on social media, Instagram, learn how to use social media to your advantage. Google Ads, there's so many things that you can use. And one of the things that I'm going to throw in there is the fact that even in building your business, there are so many people around you, especially young people. I used a young person to build my consulting website. Do you understand? I used a very young person to actually do the illustrations on my daughter's first book. She's in secondary school, but she knew, I saw what she could do, and I was trying to encourage her to go to start a business out of it. And there are people like that around you that have those skill set as well. You can actually help them. So it will be cheaper for you to hire those people to do some things for you, which will make your startup cost a lot cheaper. Do you understand? But use your network. There are people around you, for those of you that probably need to write a business plan or build a budget for your cost, there are accountants around you that will probably do it for you for a cheaper price as well. So use your network. You need to drop a contract. There are lawyers around you. Do you understand? So those are the things. So begin to look at, if you really want to start a business, who are the people in your network? What are the skill sets that you need to start your business? What are the things that you need to do for your business to be successful? Who are those in your network that you can actually that you can actually use. So use your network wisely as well, because your network will also be the first set of people that are going to buy from you. So I would advise you, make sure that within your network, they see you as a person of integrity, they see you as a person that is loyal. You understand? For my startup in Nigeria, when I was raising money initially, a lot of people that invested into it were people within my network. People in America that were doctors, they were like, we're never going to start a business, but Dalapo, we trust you. So we're going to give you our money. Do you understand? So even in raising cash, people within your network will be the first set of people that are actually going to invest in you. So integrity is what is key. And all these things around integrity, I don't even think that we should be preaching, because as a Christian, the fruits of the Spirit, if they are in your life, all of us, we can recite that fruit of the Spirit offhand. But are people really seeing it? Because those are the things that are key. Do you understand? These are the things that people are going to see, even when you when you start your business. And those are the things that should flow into your business as well. Not only to you as a person, but into your business. Do not separate your business from yourself, which is what all of us tend to do. So we'll cut corners in our business, but then we'll say we are Christians. Fruit of the Spirit in your life, in your business. Fruit of the Spirit in your life and in your business. It's my husband that I know that does that thing, because he does a lot of fresh food. He'll tell me that, we'll buy chicken. And then he'll say, I'm throwing it in the bin. I'm like, you're throwing what in the bin? He'll be like, yeah, I don't trust this chicken. I like my food to be fresh. And I'm thinking, oh my God. You know me, I'm an accountant. So for me, I'm like, uncle. Do you understand? But what I've now helped him to do is to put the right processes in place to avoid that happening. Do you understand? But it's because he's a man of integrity. So integrity as a person, integrity in your business. And if you apply integrity in your business, the fruit of the Spirit, your marketing plan as well would actually be right. So what else haven't we covered? So in terms of raising funds, family and friends are always the first people that you need to start with, but there's a whole lot of other places that you can kind of raise funds from. Then I suppose from there, your advertising, your marketing, all of that. And then one thing I always say to people that pivoting is very, very important. So a business idea, and I'm going to say this, is the fact that your business never looks like what it was when the idea started. Ask any successful businessman. When Amazon started, all he wanted to do was to be borrowing books and lending books. Do you understand? We look at Amazon today. In this COVID, Amazon is probably the only person that is saying, God, may this COVID never be over. Because the man is on his first way to becoming the first trillionaire in the world. Do you understand? It's the one that is saying that, COVID. But the truth about it, even when COVID is over, people have shifted. Do you understand? People have shifted. Amazon will forever make money. People have shifted. Because now even me, I'm saying to myself, man, I don't think I'm going to go to the shop to go and buy some things anymore. Please, let's just order it on Amazon. It's as simple as that. Because I find that I now have more time to do other things that will add value to my life. So when you start your business idea, don't be so caught up on, because this was the idea that I have in my head, it has to be like that. No. Because when you get into the market, an idea is an idea until you get into. When you get into the market, everything in the market will now begin to tell you how that idea should begin to shape or what form. So an idea is like a child. When you first give birth to a child comes as a clean slate, and then nurture and nature, environment begins to happen. It's the same thing that will happen to your idea. Nurture, nature, environment, customer's taste, what the customer wants, the competition that is coming into the market will now begin to cause you to begin to change. So you have to be ready to be flexible and let your idea change. When I started my fintech startup, I had these crazy ideas of what I wanted to do. Now, that thing does not even look like what it was when it started. It has changed. Do you understand? Because the market taught us a lot of lessons. We began to understand our customer needs better. We began to understand the gaps better. And we also began to understand that we had to now begin to narrow down on a niche. Because sometimes your business idea is very broad, and then you find that you cannot serve everybody. And for you to be successful, you need to now begin to narrow down on a niche and understand what you want to compete on. I think my time is up, but what I would do is I would drop my email address for Faith. I would send Faith 2 documents, which is how to start your business in Ireland and things that you need to do and what you need to do. And also another document. I'll send it to Faith and then she can share it with you guys. So any questions?
So I'm just gonna throw it out there. And ma'am, you actually had 1 minute left. But given that we have like 30 minutes for questions, I know that 1 hour flew. I'm pretty sure other people will love this to continue. So, I mean, this was supposed to end at 1:30. So, do you think you maybe want an extra 10 minutes? Because
let's see what questions they have for us.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's doable as well. Okay, so the floor is now open for questions. So guys, flood in your questions. She's gonna take all your questions and give you the answers. And please don't be shy, because if you're shy now, a closed mouth is a closed destiny. My sisters and my brothers, ask your questions now.
Question number 1.
All right.
Do we have to type it up?
No, Maggie, you can ask your question. Say she'll answer. You don't have to type it.
Okay. I have a question for you, Ma. Great job. Excellent. Super informative. It's about the mental health bit. It's an area I'm very, very passionate about, but I've gotten a bit, not really discouraged, but I've been a bit all over the place trying to see how I can push forward on that, especially on the counseling bit. It's something I've been doing way before COVID-19, but I'm looking to do more with it during this period, because I think the market is just open right now. What would be your advice in the area of exploring mental health, and just having in mind that it's not an area I studied, so it came out of life experience, life challenges, and the passion was born out of it. So at the moment I'm doing a certificate program, but what else can you advise in the area of maximizing that space and building more into it?
Okay, so the first thing is, obviously you're already doing a certificate program. Another certificate program I'll probably tell you to do is to do something in the counseling area so that you're a qualified counselor. Do you understand? And because mental health is so broad, I would also be asking you to kind of focus, find a niche that you're really passionate about. So it could be mental health for like young people, it could be mental health for like women, and then decide what kind of business that you want to build out of it. So obviously, when it comes to counseling, people like to see that your counselor has some kind of certification. Do you understand? For me, having a qualification in mental health is neither here nor there, because some people have grown fantastic businesses out of experience. Like the lady that started spandex, Sarah Blakely will tell you that because she didn't have what to wear under her skirts, that was how she started. That's how spandex came about. Do you understand? And then for you, I mean, the good thing about a business like yours is the fact that it is not a capital intensive business to start. Do you understand? So these are things like even hiring a community center to use every single day or evenings. Do you understand? It's so you can start small, is what I'm trying to say. You can decide, I'm going to hire a room in a community center and have, these are my clinic days. Do you understand? And then build a website or a app that people can book their sessions online. You understand what I mean? So yours is actually to make up your mind that is something that you want to do and kind of put a plan together and go for it. But if the certificate that you're doing is in mental health, also look at doing a certificate in counseling. Do you understand? And because you're a Christian counselor as well, a lot of we Christians, we're very ashamed to come out and say that we have mental health issues. And mental health issues, not that you're mad. Do you understand? There's so many kind of emotional and well-being issues and everything that we need to talk about that we're not talking about in church. And you also have that advantage as well to market yourself as a Christian counselor or as a Christian counselor that focuses on mental health and emotional well-being. You'd be surprised how many people would actually pay for it. For some people, it's not even the fact that they're even overwhelmed by what they're going through, like in their everyday. So it just depends on how you now market yourself. Do you understand? Without stigmatizing mental health.
So do I need to register that? Let's say if I'm doing that online, do I need to register it? While I'm still getting the certification, can I start without certification? Do I have to register?
Register your business. I always tell me, I'm an advocate for registering your business from day one. Do you understand? And for you, the grant that I talked about, which is the whole social entrepreneur that you can avail of as well, because emotional well-being is very big at the moment. So you won't even need a lot of for them to even give you for you to actually avail of that grant, but you need to start the business first. Do you understand?
Okay. Thank you, ma. Okay, I give others the room.
All right, Nengi, thank you for your question. And Timmy has been putting his hand up, and I think he has a question. So Timmy, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Okay, thank you very much, Faith. Thank you, Ma, for the time. I just have about 3 questions, really. The first is, how were you able to square or rationalize the opportunity costs of foregoing 2-year salaries and upward mobility in your career for an MBA? It's like I would be interested in your thoughts for that, because like I don't think that's something that gets talked about enough, because when you're doing a master's degree, you're really taking a career hit in a sense. Then second question would be, how do you deal with the problem of cold starts in consultancy? So like it's a classic case of network effects.
Mhm.
If you don't have like people who are who are buying your services, if you don't have like experience with people that are buying your services, you don't get more services in a sense. And the final one would be about like doesn't saturation validate the presence of an addressable market? So like if 10, 20 people are in a business, doesn't that mean that there's actually something in there? Because the true nature of capitalism is to breed competition, and that's to drive the gross margins down. So I would just like to hear your thoughts on them. A couple of them are personal, but like to the extent you're willing to share. Thank you.
So the first one, in terms of my MBA, I think so, and that's where you need to make a decision, right? I did so you could do an executive MBA, which means that you only have to go for your classes at the weekend and you still keep your full-time job. Do you understand? You can do what we call a global MBA. A lot of the top MBA schools are offering global MBA, which would be a mixture of online classes, and you can choose to do your electives on campus. Do you understand? So that means that you're not actually giving up work. You can still work, and it doesn't affect your salary. Do you understand? Sure, when you go to a lot of MBA schools, you find that a lot of people in these executive MBAs are people that have jobs, that have careers, don't want to take the hit of 2 years in their careers a lot of times. And because of that, they go for an executive MBA, or they do what they call a global MBA, too. Is becoming very, very popular at the moment. When you go to a pure MBA class where there's a full-time MBA, you find out that there's a lot of young people in that class. So people that are looking to switch careers or go into management. But a lot of the average age of people that do a full-time MBA a lot of times is 30 and below, to be honest. So it depends on where you fall. If you think that you have the money to go and do a 2 years MBA, but if you're doing it full-time, to be honest, to be 1 year or 18 months at the most, and you have the money to actually take that career break and go and do that, fine. But if you don't have the money, look into an executive MBA, which is you want to do your classes at the weekend, or look into doing what they now call a global MBA. And with post-COVID, anyway, you're going to see a lot more schools begin to offer their masters and their MBA online, because everybody has had to invest money into the edtech space, and they'll be looking to recoup that investment back. Your third question was about saturation. Now, there's different kind of saturation when you look at market saturation. There is, so things like, say, in the retailing space, there's a lot of retailing in the retailing space. There's a lot of saturation in the retailing space, and then people then gravitate towards brand loyalty and what brand that they want to spend their money on. But then within the retailing space, what you find out, because they're what we call the fast-moving consumer goods, they turn it over very, very quickly. Do you understand? So because they turn it over very, very quickly, even if their gross margin per product or net margin per product is very, very small, but because they're turning it over every single day, it actually kind of makes up for the saturation or the decrease in their gross margin that you actually see. But when it comes to service industry, actually within a small community, where you find out that if it's actually saturated, nobody even actually makes money from it then. Do you understand? Because then what you find out that you're beating down the price of the product, that people are beginning to offer that product as a loss in order to remain competitive. So when you talk about saturation, you have to look at what market are you really saturating, and how much competition is in the market that you're looking to saturate. Do you understand? So when I was talking about saturation of market, I wasn't talking about the likes of a product that maybe transgresses the community. I'm talking about, let's say for instance, people that do catering. for African catering and parties. We only get married once. How many birthday parties do you? But then, even in one church, sometimes there are like 10 people that are offering catering services. That's an oversaturated market. An oversaturated market causes decline, and it causes some people to just die. Do you understand? And then an oversaturated market as well, what we're finding or what we're looking at, especially in places like Ireland, is there's some people that are registered that have gone through the whole food authority regulations to register their business they're offering. And there's some people that are not registered that are doing it, that are not doing it the right way. So their costs are cheaper. So what you're doing is that the people that are now registered are spending money to make sure that they have their business insurance, have their food insurance, pay for premises, pay for this, pay for that. You're not putting them in a situation where they are having to run their business at a loss or other close down their business because they're doing it the right way. And they can't go, and then once you're doing it the right way, and the authorities already know that you're doing it the right way, you can't go back to doing it the wrong way because the authorities already know about you. So that was the kind of situation that I was referring to. But I also understand the question around bringing down the gross margin. Yeah, if you're bringing down the gross margin, and I always say that competition actually favors the consumer, because what happens with competition is people are forced to provide quality at a cheaper price. Do you understand? But that doesn't mean that even if you're providing quality at a cheaper price, nobody wants to run a business at a loss. And then that's when you start talking about barriers to enter a market and all that kind of stuff, which is a different issue. I think your other question was around consulting. Now, consulting is always a very hard space to get into, and in terms of getting clients, you always say to consultants that you have to start by offering either free services or very cheap service in order for you to build a brand. But then the other thing about consulting service is building the right network, which is one of the things that I was talking about. Oh, if you're showing up to work and there's a service that they pay for at work and they can outsource that service, but you're already offering that service, and because they trust you, sometimes the organization can be your first client. But even outside of that, I did a lot of, when I started out as a consultant, I offered a lot of free services to my friends that were looking to build their own businesses. I started offering services free. When I was in my MBA class, I went to my MBA class with my eyes open. We had a WhatsApp group, even to today, that I was like, when somebody was like, I need somebody to draw up a business plan for me. I need somebody to draw up a financial model for me. I used to offer myself up for free to do it for them. And then some of them would turn around and say, no, you know what? I have to pay you for doing that. And I'm like, you know what? Don't pay me, but can you refer me to somebody else that would basically pay me? Do you understand? So there are different ways to actually go in about it. And then you have to look at ways that people have grown a successful service business. With consulting, to be honest, you would always, first of all, more than, I'm deeply convinced, offer your services for free in order to get your first 2, 3, 4 clients who would now become your ambassadors. So they will be the ones that will now start giving you reviews and referrals. I mean, even people that do products offer the products for free initially. That's why you see the likes of Unilever, when they want to launch a new product, they get people to stand in front of the station to give the product for free so that people can test it for free. And then people can now, after that, maybe go back and buy it. I hope that answers your questions.
Thank you so much, Ma. I'm just gonna re-say what I said on the chat. Guys, can we just limit the questions to 1 per person so everyone can have opportunity to ask your questions. Messi, I can see your hand up for a while now, so you can ask your question.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Auntie. So my question is just that, how do you go about finding the right mentor? And how do you gather courage to, approach the person?
Okay, how do you go about finding the right mentor? So first of all, before you find a mentor, I think you need to, for yourself, write down what you want in a mentor, because I think that's very, very key, like what you want in a mentor. And then what you want to gain out of the mentor-mentee relationship, basically, because that is very, very important as well. And then also, one thing I would say is, as a caveat, is sometimes when you even think that I want that person to be a mentor, when you start the journey, you might find out that maybe that person is not a right fit for you, or you guys are not a right fit for each other. So you also have to, bear that in mind as well, and apply caution as well when you're building a mentor relationship initially. So for me, I think you should write down what you really want in a mentor. Do you understand? And then begin to look at the people around you to see who is the person that has those qualities that you actually want in a mentor, who is the person that has actually achieved those things that you want, like in a mentor. Then in terms of approaching the person, I find out with the mentors that I have, I've never really officially asked them to be my mentor, but what I did was I put myself out there to help them as well. So you find that with your mentors, if someone is good enough or is successful enough to be your mentor, they always have maybe things that they're doing. So I'll use myself an example. A lot of people, young people that I've gone on to mentor recently would have been people that would, for instance, when I had my children in church, so let me use church as an example, and they would offer to babysit my children for free, or they'll carry my children in church and all of that, and then we get talking. Do you understand? And because they were taking care of my children, quote unquote, and we got talking, by default, I started mentoring some of them. Do you understand? For some of them, it was the fact that, okay, as a youth leader, we get talking, or they maybe always asking questions in class, or they're always putting themselves out there. And by virtue of that, we kind of built a relationship, and I began to mentor them. So there's no right or wrong way. And then for some people, you just need to like contact somebody, as in take a bold step. And I always said, that was the worst. I would say the person would say no, and then you move on to the next person, basically. Do you understand? And the fact that somebody said no, they don't want to be your mentor, is never something personal. Sometimes the person maybe is too busy to mentor someone, and they know that they don't have the time to mentor you, or they already have too many mentees and they can't take on somebody else. So there are different ways to go about it. You can either ask the person outrightly, you can put yourself out there to help that person. Some people always say that you should strategically position yourself so that the person will kind of notice you. So there are different ways. There's no right or wrong answer. You just need to find out what kind of like works for you. And the different kind of mentoring as well. I mean, there are people that I know would never mentor me personally, but what I do is I read up on a lot of material that they put out there. I listen to their webinars. I listen to their talks. If they're talking somewhere, I register to go there. And that way I can kind of get like knowledge and get the value of the experience that they're actually given.
All right. I hope that answers your question, Messi. Aura just sent me her message on, unfortunately, she's not able to unmute herself. So her question is, how do you link business and the media world? For example, YouTube and the rest of them.
So the media world, that one. So unconventional careers, which is where the media world tends to fall into, is a lot of hard work. And to be honest, if you want to make it as someone in the media world, it is something that you have to be consistent and you have to be patient. If you listen to a lot of successful YouTubers, and a lot of successful YouTubers sometimes don't tell you the truth, is the amount of hard work that goes into YouTubing. Honestly, personally, I don't even have the patience for it. And then you have to be consistent. So even when it seems like it's not working, you have to kind of keep at it. You have to keep looking for the right content that has to go out there. Sometimes it's not even in terms of the right what is the definition of the right content is what you first of all need to find out. Because find out that videos that go viral sometimes don't make sense, but they actually go viral for different reasons. So you have to now begin to think, okay, what is it that I can put out there that will probably go viral? There was this lady that I was listening to, the Queen Teddy. All she put out there was some dancing video, and that video went viral, and she's building some kind of career out of that by a dancing video that actually went viral. So I think with the media world, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of consistency, looking for the right content. YouTube has a number, and then you need to understand. I think another thing you need to understand is how this whole YouTubing works. So I was listening to a YouTuber the other day, and I was saying that you have to know the right time to which to place your adverts, and to place the adverts. The more adverts you place, the more money you make. But if you place too many adverts, then it means your viewers don't even want to watch your videos because there's too many adverts in your videos. So you have to learn to get that balance right. So there's a lot of educating yourself that would have to go into for you to understand how it actually works. The easiest part of it is to understand your craft. But to now use your craft to begin to generate revenue is now the research and the education that you need to get yourself. So I would be advising you that go and study successful YouTubers and what they've done, the things that they've done from a business point of view that has actually made them successful. And then also begin to look at yourself and say that, okay, what part of the media do I want to turn to a business? Do I want to go into the advertising of product space? So what do I need to do to become like a product influencer? Like, so all this kind of thing, because it's a different skill set, it's a different kind of content that needs to go out there. So they're different things. So you just need to understand what part of the media world that you want to turn into a business, and begin to look at successful people, and then begin to educate yourself and begin to do it. But the truth about it is that when it comes to things like media world, you need to be consistent. Consistency, even when it feels like it is not working, you need to keep at it. Consistency is what I find that works. And then look for successful YouTubers like within your community, within Ireland as a whole. I know for that, I mean, for we Black people, that would mean probably looking at the Irish community to see that who are the successful YouTubers, reach out to them, see what tips they can. And that's another thing, guys. Do not be afraid to step out of your network. We're very insular. I find that we Black people, we like our community so much. But the truth about it is, for us to be successful, we need to step out of our community. We really, really need to step out of our community. Or are you that you want to go into the media world, you need to step out of your community. Begin to reach out to, I mean, and as I keep saying that the world is the global village. There's nothing that stops you from reaching out to a successful YouTuber in the UK, a successful YouTuber in the States, to actually help you. Now, somebody in the States would not necessarily see you as a competition because you guys are not in the same region. So might be even a lot more willing to actually help you. Do you understand? So it's coming up with a plan. That's where coming up with a plan becomes really, really important.
All right. Thank you very much again, Ma. This has been very interesting. I see Tammy has a hand up and she has a question. So Tammy, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, thank you, Faith. Thank you so much, Ma, for the knowledge that you've passed so far. My question is as regards the non-for-profit area. It's something that I would like to ask. Do you think it's a very profitable area to like establish a career in, like to build your career path around? And do you think that you always need to run, because I'm attending business seminars and all of that, I've really not heard people talk about this non-for-profit area. Like, you're the first person actually mentioning it, and that's why I'm very excited. Do you always need to build like a business, like side by side, sell something to fund it, or is, I don't know, it's a very, very confusing one for me. I hope you understand my question.
Well, not-for-profits, right? So a lot of not-for-profits all over the world are run through what we call people giving to corporate social responsibility. Do you understand? So it is finding a cause that people would believe in, that organizations and people will be willing to put their money into. So let me use a good example. Bill and Melinda Gates, obviously we know that who would have started Microsoft, they have a foundation, and a lot of the money from the foundation goes into the not-for-profit sector, but they need to believe in the not-for-profit sector that they're giving their money into. Do you understand? So a lot of companies these days would put as most of the companies that I've worked for will tell us to choose a charity every year that we want to give money to, and then they'll run a competition and they'll pick 3 charities that money is going to go into. So if you're running a not-for-profit, you fall into that whole not-for-profit charities status, and there are a lot of companies that will give their money by way of corporate social responsibility for you to actually run the charity or run the not-for-profit. But one of the things that it has to be set up properly, so it has to be properly registered. You have to have people who want to see your book, because people want to see what you're using the money for. So you have to be ready to be responsible and be accountable. But you don't need to run a business side by side to run it. But if you're not going to run a business side by side for yourself to run it, make sure that you've put in the right processes, make sure that you have registered it, so that it's easy for you to raise money from people that would donate towards that cost. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, Ma. Yes, my does. Thank you so much, Ma.
All right, thanks, Tammy. I'm just wondering if any other person has any other question. Guys, please don't be shy to ask your questions. We still have a few more minutes. So,
I have a question.
okay.
Okay. Hi. Hello, Ma. Thanks for today. The question I have is on transitioning from one career point to another. I would say I highly I sync with that because I'm a lawyer from background and transitioning into something that has to do with business. Now, apart from doing another master's degree, or because I don't want to spend another money doing master's degree or paying money to do a PhD degree, I am of the opinion that short courses such as diploma courses may be of help. What do you think? Do you think that diploma courses can be as much help as much as master's degree or PhD courses for those that don't want to? I wouldn't say I literally want to just have a full business and do business full time. If I have a business, it's going to be a form of a side hustle for me as far as I want to have a 9 to 5. But you talked about entrepreneurship. What do you think about diploma courses in entrepreneurship? Or do you have any idea of courses in entrepreneurship, innovation, strategy, and all that?
I know DCU does a lot of postgraduate diplomas. UCD does a lot of postgraduate diplomas as well in strategy, in entrepreneurship. You don't have
DCU
and UCD. I know those. Then there's Irish Management Institute. Because I find out that the Irish Management Institute is what a lot of my directors went to at work as well. So they do a lot of postgraduate diploma courses that you can actually avail of. Then there's a lot of online ones as well that you can check out. That I mean, if you don't want to be going to a class regularly, to be honest. But if you're switching careers, but you don't necessarily have to do a master's. Do you understand? Like I said, there's a lot of transferable skill sets. You did law. If you did law as the first, I know a lot of people that did law that now work in financial services, that do compliance and everything. All they do is postgraduate diplomas, to be honest. And that's what those postgraduate diplomas are there for. One thing I always say to people that for some of us, it doesn't matter what you do your first degree in, unless you want to go and do things like if you're a medical doctor and others say, wait, that one is a different ball game. But for a lot others, to be honest, what you do your first degree in doesn't really matter. Then when you now want to transition, you just need to look at short courses here and there that you can do postgraduate diplomas. That's what those postgraduate diplomas are there for. Anyway, to be honest. So then you make the best use of it. You just need to look at, and a good thing about postgraduate diplomas is they're very specific in the knowledge that they offer. So you find that you find one that is really tailored to your need.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Blessing Okpaje, I can see you have your hand up. So can you ask and then after Blessing Priya, please get ready for your question because we're like minutes away from our planned time and there's still seen as well. Okay, so I take it that these are the last 3 questions because we only have 7 minutes. So Blessing, you have the floor.
Thank you, Faith. Mr. Dolapo is concerning so I work in the medical field and I don't have any I don't think I have any aptitude for business myself. I wouldn't have thought of myself starting a business either. I'd have preferred investing in other businesses because I just don't think I have time, and my main focus would be getting to the highest level of my career, which would be consultancy. However, I don't see myself staying in hospital medicine for the rest of my life anyway. I just kind of get my experience and then move on. But as regards to the business side of things, which would you think is better? Do you think it's better for me to get more business acumen in the way of doing courses, in that field, or have a business idea and just get a set of people that would just do the things for me, like a business plan, set up the business for myself while I'm doing my 9 to 5 job in the hospital. I hope that.
Okay. So there are different questions, and I have a friend that is similar. So I have a friend who did an MBA with me. He's a medical doctor in the States. Do you understand? And he doesn't want to run a business, to be honest. The only reason it was very funny because he said that the reason he came to an MBA was because what he sees himself doing is investing in a whole lot of other businesses that other people run, and he's just going to put his money in. But he just wanted to have that knowledge so that when he's planning to invest in a business. Do you understand? Because he was never going to. Now, for him, he doesn't even work as a doctor anymore. He's gone into research. he works for a pharmaceutical company, he does medical research for them and everything. So there are different ways to do it. And I know I have a lot of friends that have invested in businesses that don't want to run a business. They want to keep their 9 to 5, but they have that spare cash to actually invest in business. So for you, I would say do short courses, because the thing about it gives you an idea of what to look out for when you're looking at a business to invest in. But most importantly, like I said to him as well when he was looking to invest, is the fact that pay somebody to do the due diligence for you. So there are people that would look at a business and come back and tell you, oh, don't put your money here, put your money there. This is the reason why. So they will do all that work for you, which is called doing a business due diligence. So that way, so even if it's going to cost you 300 euro, 400 euro to get somebody to do a due diligence, it saves you losing a lot of money down the line. Do you understand? So that is 2. 3, in terms of if you want to set up your own business, you're all well and good for you to set up your own business. You can get someone to do a business plan for you, and then obviously you hire the right people. Do you understand? So there's a lot of businesses today that are owned by shareholders, but they don't actually run those businesses. That's where shareholders come into. So what you're looking to do is to become either an equity investor or a shareholder in a business, but you don't necessarily run the business. There are people that I know today that are majority shareholders in a bank, but they don't run the bank. Do you understand? They've employed people to run the bank, or they've just basically bought the business over and other people are actually running it. You know, but then that's where hiring the right people will now become very, very important. But then you're doing those short courses so that it gives you an idea. So you might not know it fully, but at least you have an idea, and then you now rely on the experts that you've kind of hired really to now do the due diligence to run the business and to come back and then report back to you, basically.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Blessing, for your question. So Priya, can you unmute yourself, please, and ask your question? And then Tosin, you have the floor after Priya.
Thank you very much, Ma, for the talk. It was very insightful. My question sort of borders on skills. So say you have a number of different skill sets that you sort of equally, and each of the skills could be its own thing. How do you decide on which one to pursue, or can you combine all of it?
Okay, good question. So I'll give you benefit of experience. I used to suffer from too much skill sets and what to do, to be honest. I would say you have to prioritize, to be honest. Do you understand? Because if you try to do everything at the same time, you might end up not being very overwhelmed. Do you understand? So for me, I would say prioritize which one is most important to you. Or so there's a book that I would recommend, and then you could basically, so there's a book called Eat That Frog. One thing I learned from Eat That Frog is the fact that Eat That Frog says that you should prioritize what you think would give you the most value. Do you understand? So of all your skill sets, which is the one that you think is most likely to give you the most value, or to give you the most money? Or maybe, for you, if you don't want to measure it in money terms, maybe the most, how will I put it now? Satisfaction. And then start with that one first. Do you understand? So the book in Eat That Frog tells you that you should write down everything that you need to do, everything that you want to do, and prioritize the one that contributes the most to your life, and do that first. Because you find out that the one that contributes the most to your life is the one that you need to do. And then the other ones that really don't contribute much, you can actually get somebody else to do them. Do you understand? So does that make sense? So I think you need to write it down in order of priority and say, okay, which one is going to give you the most satisfaction? Or which one is it that you think that would add the most value or bring the most money for you? And maybe follow that one first. But it's really up to you to decide. And then for some people, I know there's some people that like to do the easiest thing first, because it's quicker to just get it over and done with. Do you understand? But if you think that even the easiest thing that you can do, or the thing that you will do quicker, is going to take you the same amount of time with the one that is going to add the most value to you and add the most money for you, I'll be saying go for the one that is going to add the most value and add the most money, the money to your life, before doing the other small ones. I suffer from that as well, but I've learned to kind of prioritize.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. So Tosin, you have the floor now.
Yeah, thank you, Ma, for your time. Well, with regards to business, as a Christian, do you think having a record label or investing in music is a good business to do, even as a Christian?
I think any business, I mean, having a record label is a good business to have, to be honest with you, because I mean, the world's music is something that we all listen to. Music is something that uplifts all of us and everything. I don't think there's any business that a Christian cannot do, as long as you're doing it within the, what's they call it now, of your faith. Do you understand? So you know that, okay, if I'm a Christian label, I would not necessarily put some kind of music out there. But even at that as well, you see, it's up to you as an individual to kind of decide what you want to do. I mean, I wouldn't expect a Christian to put out music that is all talking about a woman's butt and all that kind of stuff and everything. Do you understand? But then some people will tell you that it's business. We don't necessarily believe in it, so my record label can actually do that. So there's nothing that, I mean, there's a lot of Christian music. There's a lot of clean music out there that people put out. There's a lot of, I mean, soundtracks for Disney, for movies and everything that is out there that record labels put out there. So there's the field is wide, to be honest. For you to say that as a Christian, I'm not going to actually set up like a record label. Fine, we find that the things that go viral very quickly are the things that has all this obscenity and all that kind of stuff and everything. But there is a place for Christian music. There's a place for clean music. There's a place for soundtracks. There's a place for so many other things that your record label can do before you even begin to venture into music that has like foul language or obscene, like nudity and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna say thank you everyone for participating, for sparing the time to actually attend this meeting, and thank you so much to our special guests. Like, this has been very insightful. I've learned a whole lot from this, and I believe everyone actually has a thing or two to take back home and get it into that business you've been running or you want to start, or even to help someone else who wants to start. So this has been very insightful. And ma'am, you did mention about sending a document, am I right?
Yes, I did. I think I sent you my email privately, Faith.
Okay, yeah, I got that. Okay.
So send me an email and then I'll send it to you, and then you can share it.
Yes, thank you so much. I believe on a normal well, like in a conference now, this would be like a paid thing, but we're getting all this knowledge for free. So I'm especially very grateful to you for doing this.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
so
Thank you, Ma.
Yeah, the time just flew. It didn't feel like we've been here.
Actually did fly. Yes, it did.
Yeah, it did. So at this time, I'm just gonna bring us to a close, and I'll ask Kinsley to pray for us, if that's okay.
Thank you once again, Ma. Guys, I just want us to pray because pray for our guest, because you know what she's done is she has just deposited a seed in our lives. She has not asked us, in case you don't know, she has not asked us for anything. She has not asked us for a dime. She has not asked for anything, but she has deposited seeds in our lives. So I want us to pray for her and her family. First, I want us to pray for her and ask God that God will continue to lift her up. That shame will be always far from her. That in all her businesses, God will cause every work of her hands to prosper. That anything that she lays her hands on, it shall prosper. Any businesses that may have been doing badly, once her hand touches it, it will just come alive. Anything that she puts her hands on, the Lord will make it prosper just because of the seeds that she sows. That the Lord will make it prosper in the name of Jesus. And we'll pray for her family. We pray against any devourer in her home, in her family. That God, as she spends all this time, because guys, there's always a give and take. Time that she's spending with us is time away from her family, and I'm sure she's always so busy. So let's just ask that the Lord will continue to keep her home. The Lord will continue to give her the wisdom, the strength that she needs to always be a good mother, to always be a good wife, to always be all that God has made her to be, that she will not suffer, she will not lack anything. And God will bless her in all her endeavors in the name of Jesus. Thank you, Father. Father, we want to say thank you. We give you glory and honor. We have been blessed today. We want to thank you for this privilege and for this honor. We ask, oh God, that everything we have heard today, the seed that has been sown, let it begin to germinate, let it bring forth fruits in the name.
Amen.
Let us look back few months, few years, and we'll be able to mark today and say, you know what? Today was a turning point in my life. Today was a day that I decided that I would not be mediocre. I would take a step, I would take risks, and I would prosper. Father, just begin to breathe upon us ideas and give us the boldness and the courage to execute all the ideas that you've already given us. Help us in everything that we do. Be our guide. You will be our counselor. You will be the first one that we come to with any questions, with any ideas, and you will lead and guide us right in the mighty name of Jesus.
Amen. Amen.
We have prayed.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you once again, Ma.
Thank you so much, Ma.
Thank you, Ma, and God bless you. Thank you for your
quick, Ma. The book Eat the Frog, was that by Tracy?
Yeah, Eat That Frog, by Tracy, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. Thank you for your time.
Bye, Uriel. Bye.
Thank you, Ma. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. You have a good
Bye, guys. Thank you all so much for coming.
Have fun and keep being safe.
Everyone.
All right.
Stay safe.